Oh, time to kick the tires and light the fires. Good morning, everybody.
I didn't get any tools out.
I didn't either.
Chuck, get your tools. Ape,
Whip your tool out, Chuck.
Ape, you are a tool.
Mine
Get
are
your
right
tools,
here.
son.
I mean,
Yeah. I
Ape
figured I
got
was
tools.
coming.
He sits in a den of tools, I'm sure.
Everything's all
Surrounded by
boxed up and
tools.
packed up.
Oh, have you been
All
cleaning?
three of
I've been
these
working on
tools.
that too. Yeah.
Well, I'm still in process of moving from the basement up here, so
So I am curious. You got sent to the basement because why?
so I didn't get sent to the basement. We had
Oh,
a
you
flood,
volunteered. Oh,
We had a flood.
That's right.
and we had the basement redone. Like they came in and rebuilt the entire basement. And my
That fresh carpet in
kid,
them battery videos.
my kid who had made their room down there was at college, so the basement was unoccupied. So I'm like, man, this is all nice and stuff. So I moved down there.
Okay.
But now she's coming home.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
back.
Hey,
That's right.
Hey,
Yes.
Jim, isn't it funny how this story changed in the last 2 years?
It
hasn't
has.
changed.
It has. I thought he said his
It-
wife made him move down there.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, you guys
Even if
probably
I
because
didn't
you
hear
were
it, that's what I heard.
You were probably playing FT8 when you heard it because it's not what it said.
I'm
It was
playing
always
FT8 all
about
the
it
time.
was always about the flood and the space being available.
I
And
remember the flood and the smell. Our basement flooded back home in Kankakee one time, and it was pretty awful.
Yeah.
It was pretty
Nebraska
awful.
basements, man. That's why they don't make them in Nebraska.
Well,
We don't have basements here. Nobody here has a
I
basement.
think there's one basement in my town, and we had to know that one because that was different than what we're used to for fire. Because basement fires are kind of
Right.
dangerous.
Yeah, we don't. And thank God, Chuck, 0.0 basements that we ever had to answer, and because almost every house down here is
I
either
never saw
slab or
ours, but-
conventional foundation with no basement. Oh,
See, I'm like
Never
Abe.
saw
I asked
it.
my wife this morning if she told me I was happy, and she said I was, so we're good.
you've seen the thing where the lady asked the husband, "He's like, does your wife allow you to have opinions or free thought?" And she's like, "Yes."
let me ask my wife.
She answered for him.
She
Right.
doesn't allow me. She just tells me what they are.
I can have opinions on my own without asking her if she's not around. Well, Chuck, what are you up to? What are you are you designing new stuff?
I
Focus
released
camo.
last time I did a video that had my trailer in it. People asked me to do a video on it, on kind of a walk around of it. And I did a quick walk around when I was up motorcycle riding last time because I'm sitting here drinking coffee in the morning by myself, and my buddy and his kids are all sleeping. And you know me, I'm up at 6, if at the latest usually.
Old People Club.
And it was like
latest.
20 something degrees there. And so I'm outside in I think it might have been this sweatshirt. I don't know. Sweatshirt. No, it was my old Chico State one.
Okay, we don't care what you're wearing.
My wife hates that one. I'll catch hell for it, but it's wore out. But I paid for that Chico State stuff. So,
She ain't
college for
here
a
yet.
kid.
I see no evidence of her yet. So,
So
we still say.
So I did a walk around. It was all frosted over out there and stuff. And it just kind of showed what was in it. And it's probably one of those videos that'll do so. But I've been sick and I already had the footage, so I did it.
You sound better today. You're still ugly,
I
but
feel
you
be-
sound better.
Today's like the first day I've actually felt halfway decent.
Yeah, the last 3 shows, you've sounded really congested. What's up, Primate? What are you doing?
Nothing. I've been still doing that move and getting the shack all put together, but I'm going to start a antenna build project. I got some twin line, and so I'm going to play with it with a twin feeder.
Have you
type
ever done
antenna.
that before? Have you ever messed with twin line?
No. Have
Me
not.
neither.
Is your printer set up yet?
All I got to do is plug it in the wall. I mean, it's in its new
Oh.
spot. It's
That's
sitting
been
over
like
there.
the
Oh,
last 2 years too.
His nozzle's probably clogged with
again, your
dust.
inability to pay attention is doing you a disservice. It's not been ready to plug into the wall.
No, it's been upstairs or something,
Right.
or wherever he's at now. I
When's the
don't
last time
can't
you
keep
cleaned
track.
something?
I want to know
don't
where
know.
he's got all them batteries hidden that
See?
Mrs. Ape ain't found them yet.
There's
He made a fort.
There's seven.
That's what
There's
I
7
do.
of them. It's like an igloo. There's like 7 of them sitting right here.
He
Behind,
gets two. He
behind
gets
me.
2 more. He can sleep under them.
You put your logo on a little flag and plant it in the middle of the batteries. This is Fort Ape. No girls allowed.
Well, the thing is, like, I have to tell them
go to sleep.
not to fool with the batteries because I don't want them to do anything
Right.
that would potentially be dangerous. Right.
Right. Oh man. Tio, what do you?
hold
Thump's-
on. I'm
Thump's
sorry.
gasping.
I'm sorry. We got to stand back. There's some
Looks
love
like,
for Jim in the house.
Old
Thank you,
John's
JG.
looking for a date.
Well, he
ain't
knows
looking for no
vacation's
date.
coming up.
We ham
got
bros.
He's ready to go to the beach, Daytona Beach. While he's down
I
there.
don't know. Let's not get crazy. I'm still, pasty white because
that's right, it's outside.
and garlic and crosses. But yeah, I've lost about almost 70 pounds. I think
Wow.
if I masked it. I mean, I'm not svelte yet. Now I'm just pleasingly
Quit throwing it
chunky.
this way.
Right.
That's
Quit throwing it this way.
280 quarter pounders.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, that's a lot of pork chop sandwiches.
280.
So you say you
280
lost two
quarter
toddlers?
pounders.
Yeah, two small children.
Yeah.
The hardest part of this is eating less because if one plate of spaghetti is good, then two is even better. 3 bowls of chili seems a totally legitimate meal because the brother's got to eat. That's been the biggest part about this. And
Well, chili's good.
oh my God. And I've been on a cornbread kick lately, so I've been making fresh
man.
cornbread when she makes chili. And then I
Jalapenos
like
in
to
it?
just break up, no jalapenos, onions, but I break up the cornbread in the bottom of the bowl and then dump the chili on top of it. And then I'm in my happy
Soak it up.
place.
What do you
Yeah.
mean no jalapenos, son?
I don't want jalapenos in my cornbread. That might be
No,
a
the guys that have
California
the
thing.
fire.
Jalapenos
That
in
wasn't
everything.
my thing, but the guys at work like that. So.
I mean, I don't philosophically oppose that, Chuck, but I've never done it. And she doesn't like anything spicy.
Yeah.
So,
You have to,
Kathy
you have to
does
learn
too.
how to eat un-American. That's what you have to do.
well, I mean, we
Kathy-
eat un-American. We have Thai and Mexican on a regular basis.
No,
and
I mean
Chinese.
portions. Well, I mean when you have Chinese,
yeah.
do you have the
yes.
you have the General Tso's Chinese, or do you have real Chinese food? You have
I
American
have
Chinese.
house special fried rice with pork, chicken, and shrimp, and it's usually 3
Somebody got excited.
meals because the Chinese restaurant gives you like enough people to serve 3 families in
Cornbread's back.
one serving.
You see
Well,
that?
they have-
He's back.
Good to see.
Yes,
The-
Jeff, it has beans.
He's back.
The Chinese restaurant by me that we like, it has part of the menu is in Chinese. It's not in.
Oh, wow.
That's
Eat
the stuff
steak.
you want to order.
Not an American.
You know what? I don't know if it is or not though, because that could be stuff like the bird nest, and you know what I mean, like how they have all that crazy stuff.
Right.
Experiment.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm up for some stuff, but
Oh,
like
Jason gets crazy with his
I love Chinese
chorizo,
food.
too.
Thai
I'm a
food
fan.
is okay.
It tastes
I like
okay. It's just
I like
greasy.
I like pad Thai. That's
It is
about the only
greasy.
Thai
It's-
food
it's
that
all
I
the
really
bad
like.
things.
I had Thai food for breakfast.
Mexican, my theory on Mexican food is it's all the same thing. It's just repackaged in a different form factor.
It's
Look at this,
the
Josh.
layer. It's what
It's-
order the layers.
There you go. Exactly right.
You guys might have noticed that
John's
Clubhouse
calling
went
you out.
off the air. Clubhouse went off the air about a month ago.
Aren't they back?
So we've been. No,
Are they back? Yeah. I
no,
don't
they're
know.
not back. Are you kidding me? Yeah, they're back.
They're back. I think.
doing
I mean, did
reruns.
anyone notice? I'm not sure.
Right. That was the joke. There you go.
There you go. Ape, you mentioned the ladder line. So I was trolling through Printables or Maker World the other day, and I found a bunch of standoffs to make your own ladder line out of like speaker wire or something.
Yeah, it'd be cool to try something like that. I was looking for PCBs that I could use
HEBs.
to like a small little PCB perf board to hook the ladder line to, and then hook the elements because I'm going to make a doublé.
A
That's the French. That's the French saying. And Chuck went out, and like 20 minutes later, he sent me a STL for a 3D print that would do it.
Chuck has been on a roll
Third,
with the
third revision. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yep.
So probably use something like that. The thing is that it's got the assembly has to be super light, right? Because it's going to be an inverted V, so I want it to be mast mountable, and I don't want it to pull the mast over.
Mm-hmm.
The twin line is going to be about 33 feet of the pieces I'm going to be using, and I don't want any of it laying on the ground, so I want to have it all at least vertical. So I have to have about 33 feet of mast.
I mean, this isn't really what the show is supposed to be about, but I'm line curious at this point. So with twin lead, it's not, you can't lay it on the ground like you can coax. Is that what you're saying? Is that right?
You can, and a lot of people do, because if you have a run of like 150 feet that comes back to your shack or something like that, I'm assuming it's gonna have to lay on the ground. I mean, I guess you could mount it above the
some
ground,
point.
Right.
but
It's not as
Standoffs.
picky as people put it out to be. I don't think. Mine has.
well, I mean, it goes back to anything, right? Like I'm sure it'll work, but I want it to work optimally, right? And
No matter how bad it is, it's still better than a piece of coax.
right.
Right.
But I want it to work optimally. So I mean, might there be the 1-to-1 sitting on the ground? Might there be a couple feet? Maybe, but I want as little as possible on the ground.
Hollywood says you can lay it on the ground if you're creating a dummy load.
Right. And so the thing is like I just don't want to do it.
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, and I've never studied ladder line at all because I don't want to use it because it smells like pain in the ass right off the bat.
Well, that's
But
how I
that
do it, but I get
distance,
hamstringed
that
about
distance is the impedance, right? And the wire determines your impedance.
the distance between the two conductors in the ladder line affects the impedance of the characteristic impedance of the ladder line.
Right.
The elements that you have attached to the end of it are going to affect the
You're right,
overall
yeah.
system impedance of the feed point at the antenna.
Right.
So,
So I would
it's just an experiment, and if I can keep it all contained to basically the mast assembly, and then just hook regular coax up to it, I don't have the problem that I've always feared with ladder line, which is kinked up and twisted all across the ground, not laying flat. That would drive me insane. Feeding it into getting it into the house, and then routed to the tuner. That's always what I thought would be just a tremendous pain in the ass. So if you think about like a G5 RV, that has a
Antenna
1-to-1 and then a coax connector to it, so it's definitely going to have a coaxial junction on the feed point.
Yeah.
You just want to keep your coax to like 10, 12 feet or less.
Oh, mine ain't going to be that. It's probably going to be like 70 feet.
Coax?
HOA Karen know about this? She might find out.
Not yet.
The only ladder line I've ever used, I built a 10-meter J pole. KB9 VBR, Michael Martins did a video on that a while back, probably at least last summer, if not last year. And I bought some ladder line to make a J pole, and it worked well. I mean, I got 10 meters on it just fine. But
So
interesting.
you messed with ladder line then. Or you
I
used it,
forgot about that one time. Yeah.
but you're using it as an antenna in that case, not as a
Yes,
transmission
not
line.
as the
Experimented.
transmission line. It was just an antenna. Yeah. Because a 10-meter J pole is not that long, and that's an easy thing to just throw over a tree limb, and boom, you have a 10-meter antenna up in the air.
Our friend Carlos, the bearded parachute guy, he made a 20-meter J pole. I think it was a J pole.
And jumped with it.
It was.
And
That was the
jumped
best
with
he
it.
got out. That was the best he
Yeah.
ever got out, I thought.
Because he had a counterpoise.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did he ground himself all the way up there?
He's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
well grounded. I mean, he's
For
going to
that
be. If
static
his
ground.
chute doesn't work, he'll be very well grounded.
He was grounded to the airplane. He was tied in.
There you go.
But essentially, what it's going to be is an inverted V double.
Double.
We'll see how it turns out.
So what makes a double versus a dipole? I didn't really mean this to get into antenna talk,
Not-
but you're on a
not
roll,
resonant.
and it's interesting.
It's related. It's ham radio.
Well, people,
I mean, unlike that other show, we are talking about ham radio the whole thing. You know,
people argue about it all the time, and my generic answer is I don't give an F what the difference is. All right, I'm just going to try a new antenna, but it's my understanding that it has to do with the twin feed line for a length of. Like some people will say, well, the G5 RV is not a true doublet because
It's a 20-meter doublet.
Right, they'll say it's not a true doublet because it has a junction for coaxial cable. So
I think the G5
every
RV uses.
single modern radio has a junction for coax. It's called the SO239 on the back of the friggin' radio.
right?
Doesn't it use the ladder line, though, to tune that antenna, doesn't it?
it,
The ladder
well,
line
it's
is part
it's
of the antenna, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's part of the
together.
antenna. That's the difference.
More so than coax is a termination of your antenna, and then transmission line. Ladder line is kind of both.
And then
Right.
you have 300, 450, and 600 ohm are the common ratings
Yeah.
on ladder
I think the
line.
600 you have to make.
You have to make it yourself.
Okay.
It's good use of a
300 and 450.
Yeah,
Sure.
what I have the
Something you could buy.
450 stuff, I think is what I bought, and I still have a ton of it I bought, I don't know, 30 or 50 feet and used, whatever takes up a 10-meter J pole. Wasn't that
I
much.
highlighted the wrong one. Johnny Gendron is telling us this ZS6KBW. What was that beeping? Was that
Somebody's French fries are done.
Yeah.
was
My
that you,
wife's cooking
Tio?
breakfast. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say if that's here, it's a new sound to me.
Well, you're upstairs. I can see that.
Tio's
So
hooked.
it totally could have been
Yeah.
a new sound.
He's hooked to power.
But that ZS6, that's the one I want. But that's a big antenna.
It's ZS6 BKW, by the way, not Z.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I'm not from European, so
Neither is he.
Zulu.
That's South African.
Zulu Sierra
but that's
6,
all. That's
Kilo.
all European.
I know.
South Africa's European,
Afrikaans.
right? Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
John's
took the
correct. There is a
G5 RV
company
and
that
fixed
makes
it.
it, but it's not. They're like the only one that makes it, I think.
but that crap's expensive too.
Well, the guy he's talking about, there was something about him. He came up recently in a conversation I was having. There's some guy, and then I Googled his call sign, and it took me to a ladder line page. And I think, Chuck, it's the same page that you showed me before where the guy's got the 600 ohm ladder. You can either buy the ladder line or you can actually buy the doublet from him.
Yeah, I think he's the only guy that I know that makes it. And it's just, he makes it. I think. It's not.
It looks like a huge pain in the ass.
I cannot even
It's
imagine.
a little bit different. It's a little more out there.
I mean, I assume that's an extrusion kind of process, running the wire through and then forming the dielectric
Well,
around it.
if you make
It's an
them to
extrusion
clip on,
just to
it's a
make
lot
the
faster.
wire.
Believe me.
Well, the wire that I got is 300 ohms, and it's
Controversy.
TV. It's TV ladder line, and it's from it's manufactured by a company called Archer, which resold to Radio Shack. And this wire is probably 30 years old. I would at least it had 30 years of dust on the inside of the cover.
Did you get that at Montgomery Ward's
I got it on eBay.
Radio
And,
Shack.
Radio Shack alternate location?
Yeah,
That,
and it's 20 gauge is the wire in there. So I don't know. Typically, I'd like to use something a little thicker than that.
Amateur
have
hertz.
to
This is actually a doublet also, I think. I think that's what Gary runs. Gary can tell you about that. It's actually two of them. They're connected in the middle with ladder line, and it's actually like a Yagi kind of. Gary gets out, let me tell you, on 80 and stuff.
What's
he's-
Chuck talking about?
I don't know.
What he was talking about the
Back to
Talking
back.
about doublet being two inverted L's back to back. He was making a joke, I think. I
No,
mean,
but
he's
but
right.
people just
No, but
people
he's right.
describe them that way. Yeah, I'm not
there's
a
great
one.
antenna.
There is it's called something else though, I think.
Stick up as much
There's
wire
a
as you can
doublet.
in the air, feed it with ladder line, terminate it to a tuner, put it into your radio, and
Bob's
enjoy
your
life.
uncle.
and
Yeah,
have fun.
yeah.
When you have less
Everybody,
loss.
this is
Don't
the best
let
part
perfect be the
about-
enemy of good enough.
Yeah, this is the best part about ham radio. They're like, I swear by resonant antennas. I only use resonant antennas. And then 5 sentences later,
That guy.
the doublet is the best antenna ever made. Which
Well,
one of
well,
these is
those-
true?
But they'll say that they use resonant antennas, and then they'll have an antenna with it. They'll use have a tuner attached to the line, right? And
Yeah,
it's like that's not resonant antenna, son.
I only use a random wire
I
resonant.
don't think I ever don't use a tuner. Even just
Yeah.
to touch it up a bit. right.
That's right,
So
Hollywood.
Hollywood only uses
Same
resonant
here.
coax.
You know what? Hollywood is probably smart
Everybody
enough that
uses resonant coax.
he's making resonant coax jumpers
Well,
because
they make those bazookas antennas out of coax. I just can't see
Oh, my
hanging
ear
that
fell
stuff
off.
up.
Well,
His ear fell off.
Ziggy's
did.
making an 80-meter loop out of coax. It's like
Yeah.
200 some feet long, and I'm just like, that's got to be heavy. You know what I mean?
When
But
you get
Well, he's got like
free, it don't
1,000
matter.
feet of coax he's trying to use up. I
he
think.
just got 500 feet yesterday. So I was talking
Yesterday?
to him
Water
last.
saving.
I was talking to him last
Wow.
night. He's like, I just got another 500 feet. He got 500 feet of quad shield RG6. It might have been 11, but I think it was 6 for $18.
do we
thought he
need
used
to
to
have
get
an
the AU all
intervention
the time.
with him?
Usually.
I
Probably.
don't know.
I
Probably.
think
I
Abe and I
mean-
do it on the daily.
I'm like, no, son, stop.
Back to work. Back to work. Can you
Um,
finish one project, son?
Tio, what are you? We have gone way off the rails.
Yeah,
Tio,
I know,
what are
you
you up
totally-
to?
I'm actually surprised you came back to me, to tell you the truth. I am going to be talking to myself and we're gonna have the Tarpon
wow.
Boys on as a guest here coming up on the show soon. But I built this one on stream. I can tell which one it is, and I built this one in a static video, which will be dropping. And now we're ready to move on to the next step. And I don't actually know what the next step is, but we're ready to move on because
That has never stopped you.
Right. You can do APRS with these things, but
Yep.
there's like you can do actual packet networking with these things too.
Yes,
And so
you can do
that's where
all
it's going to
sorts
get
of
to be kind
different.
of interesting.
What I did not realize until we started down the path we've been on Nuggets is how many different freaking modes there are. Modes, or I guess modes is the right word. Different configurations of signaling and everything else that are packet radio. Because APRS is one thing, and then HF packet is generally something completely different.
Yep.
Well,
And,
a lot of people do the 2-meter packet nets, right?
Yeah. You can do like a full TCP/IP type stack usually ends at Ethernet, and instead of ending at Ethernet, you end at radio AX25.
right.
So you can do your whole home networking, and then you can extend your network across the state using radio instead of using
Right.
the internet.
So we could have the car LAN between California, Nebraska, Arizona, and Alabama.
If everybody got one of these in a 2-meter radio that is
and had a call
code,
sign,
we
and had a
probably-
call sign.
we probably could light the United States up.
Well,
Oh,
they
that
have
would be-
a project called the Golden Packet. Are you guys familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
No.
And so what they do is that on the Appalachian Trail, I think it starts in Georgia and goes
Yes.
to Maine.
Yes.
They have people and they use the Kenwood D74s. I imagine they're using D75s now, but they do this thing where they originate a packet in Georgia and then pass it all the way up to Maine. And
That's awesome.
it is pretty neat. It's also super duper nerdy, right? But
That's why it's awesome.
Says ape.
but it's like, to me, that's more of a, hey, look what we did because we could do it, not because,
Because it's useful.
well, I don't want to,
I
don't want to be judgmental.
I'm not judgmental either. I do a lot of things because I can. I don't really need to, right? Yeah.
right?
I mean, why in the hell are Steve and I spending so much time on packet radio? Which
Because you're dorks.
I will accept that because we can.
I'll take nerd. I prefer not to be called dork.
I agree.
This is
Alpha
not an anatomy
nerd.
class.
Alpha nerd.
I've been looking for my, I have a TNC. I can't find it. It is the,
I am shocked by that.
right. It is, it was a kit that I had to put together. Building the DB9 connector was probably the worst part. And then, it's by MFJ and it's called the Pi TNC. And I think it was originally designed
Yeah, I remember that. I've seen
by the
it.
boys at Tarpon, which I think did the ones that you were just holding up. That's
Yes.
the next generation or evolution. And I did have it working with APRS, but I was using Direwolf and I was using Zaster. So I think Direwolf was the piece that I was using to communicate the packets in and out, and I think Zaster was the layer between Direwolf and the
That was
OS.
decoding it to English-ish.
Yeah, I believe that's the way
Yeah.
it was working.
I've
And then
done it. Go ahead.
That was going in the TNC, and then I was doing it with a audio cable that plugged into the headphone port. I think on my HT, but I'm not. I can't remember. I have to see what video I got on it.
I've done APRS with the Nino TNC, the ones T.O. was just showing. And I've used Direwolf with it. I did that on Linux. But I found out about one of you wonderful people in the chat said something about Pinpoint APRS. So I went and found it. It's a Windows app and it works great. And it makes doing APRS way easier than screwing with Direwolf. And it's a wonderful full screen interface and it's pretty cool. And it has a lot of functionality in it. So I hooked that up. I had that all running on my Kenwood, running fine. Using, as a matter of fact, using a Kronos prototype as my 2-meter antenna.
Pinpoint is making a data connection to your radio, or it's making an audio connection to your radio. I'm making a very important distinction.
Or who are you asking?
You,
son.
the one with Pinpoint APRS.
I wasn't, Steve.
So the computer was doing the audio on USB to the Tarpon device. And then there was a cable, a 9-pin connector to the Kenwood to do the cat control radio side stuff.
Okay.
The cables are always the problem with any of this stuff, especially if you're not using a radio that doesn't have USB, like, a 7300, 7610, any of the ICOMs in the last 15 years, and the Yaesu's same time frame, because it just gets to be a pain in the butt. Let's see, Kenwood's using a 6-pin data connector, for cat control, or there's a 13-pin data connector. They don't exactly have the same functions.
There are no standards in ham radio. No.
0.0 standards. I'm like, holy Fortran, were you people all drunk when you made this crap up? So yeah, and doing it on something like a 7300 is easy peasy. Plug in a USB cable and you're done. On something like this Kenwood, you got to figure out the cabling. And Steve, we farted with that on your show multiple times with whatever random radio we were trying to hook up to those ancient
The
TNCs.
hardest part is that they don't number the pins proper. I mean, they number them properly. They just number them illogically. Pin 1 should be pin 1, regardless of where it physically is on the connector. So when you're doing the male side and the female side of the connector, they're actually inverted
Oh, right.
in order to connect them up. Because
I've done trailers that
connectors
way.
are like this.
You just overthink that. I mean, I don't know.
You don't wire pin 1 to pin 1 to pin 1 when you're making the cable.
Not necessarily.
Because it's a
No,
different pin
no,
one.
you don't. Right.
Well, like when you do the TX and RX from like a what is it, UART device or whatever, you have to flip them.
Flip them. Yep.
And I've had a lot of people ask me about that. So I actually drew some sort of diagram for it. This is when I was doing like the Nexion displays for DMR.
Well,
But
I
it's
mean,
a-
there's a pin out. There's a pin out for the male side, and there's a pin out for the female side. And what you have to do is what I do every time I've ever made a cable. I don't care what the pin numbers are at the start. I want to know what the signals are on each side of that connection, so I can route pin 1 over here to pin 5 over here, or whatever we got to do. And I don't know. I've made about 1 billion RS-232 cables, null modem cables, network rollover cables. I don't know. But anyway, that's always the secret sauce with getting any of this stuff wired up. And then I have the MFJ one from Scott, Australian Scott, and I can't remember Scott's last name right now, that he said works perfectly and I want to use it. Got to make another damn cable for it. And just haven't gotten around to sitting down and wiring up a 25-pin connector to something to hook up to the Kenwood, for example. So,
But I just wonder if you can still do extreme APRS with something like the Nino, like you could with
Yeah,
the
what do you mean?
DigiRig. Because like when the DigiRigs came out, everybody's like, "Yo, it's extreme APRS, Mobile Link T killer."
What's
And,
extreme about it? Yeah.
And then I guess DigiRig came out with smaller ones, which are even more extreme APRS.
does that
So you
mean
just
wearing
mean
Crocs?
size?
Does that mean wearing camo Crocs with your shorts and socks when you're out in the
No, I
park?
think it's like drinking
going
Monster Energy
commando.
and eating flaming hot Cheetos when you're doing your
More
APRS.
energy.
What are we talking about today, anyhow?
Tools, which we haven't gotten to, but hey, this has been a great show so far.
We talked about radio. I know. Weird.
We've talked about radio for 25
I know.
minutes so far, and I'm not opposed to that. So I wanted to do a show. We tried to have a guest on, and there was miscommunication, and so the guest is not going to be available. But we'll have him on in the future. No, the guest misunderstood. Saturday means
Right.
today, as opposed to Hamcation,
Saturday.
because that was the previous conversation that he and I had, and he thought I meant Hamcation Saturday, not this Saturday. And I found that out after I posted yesterday's show, so we had to scramble a little bit. I mean, tools. We're all guys mostly, and Pamela may be in here, or a couple other ladies, but tools are fun. So get the camera off me. I don't need to be solo for
It was
that.
probably me.
Oh,
I'll
it's like, why
blame
is
for
my
it.
ugly puss up there in full screen?
I wouldn't
So-
have done that on purpose.
Only accidentally.
Sorry for that.
Excuse me.
Exactly.
Almost choked there. So Pam is here. Hey, Pam. So, I mean, what tools do you guys think are must-haves for your ham shack or your portable /field day operations? I mean, what's
This has been
something
my
that you?
must-have?
Side cutters.
Inside cutters.
Yeah,
Side cutters are probably the most used thing that I've got. Side
Yep.
cutters.
That's my two most used things right there, and my soldering iron.
Well, lately, but that's because you're 3D printing. But yes, there's a whole lot of ham uses for both of those as well.
Yes.
Side cutters are. Oh, Brooke, I'm sorry,
Hey, he left you out, bro.
I left you out.
Brooke.
Good to see you, Brooke.
Guys and the 2 or 3 ladies that are cool and come in here and hang out with the dorks. And I'm using dorks intentionally. So, anyway, I mean, I'm curious what everybody's got. Flush cutters has come up, wire strippers, and there's a lot of different
irons.
soldering irons.
Spudgers is a good one.
Spudgers is a real good one. I think I have. Yeah, I do.
Auto tuner. Those kind of tools. No.
Auto tuner.
Look at
Well, no,
look at,
I-
Don being all snarky.
I think a Nano VNA is a good tool. A Tiny SA is a good tool. I think a Rig Expert is. Those are all tools that I want to have available. I mean,
You know,
I'm not
Don
going to get
has-
into the Rig Expert Nano VNA thing. with-
You're not qualified to get into it.
Oh.
But the thing is that the
That's
nano,
your pie hole.
the nano
There's your
VNA.
tool right there. That's the number one tool in your shack is the coffee.
Coffee. That's right.
So
Coffee.
Don
you
has
can-
Don has a table saw,
Orale.
so you can throw
table
the
saw.
poo back at Ape.
drill
I
press,
think appropriate crimpers.
Indy.
Like I see people try to crimp certain types of terminals with whatever tool that they have on hand.
I got like
With
6
pliers.
I got a bunch. I don't like most of them.
like there was a guy that was saying he could crimp
Right, Ed?
power poles just fine with needle nose. And then he came back and said, "Hey, I was wrong. All my stuff fell apart."
He ain't touching my gear. He can't share
Yeah.
my radio.
Yeah, I mean the problem with
The power
using
pole ones work good.
using the
like
wrong
that.
crimper is you'll have
Finally,
non-standard results. Let me flip cameras here,
Esos.
and there we go. So Ape was talking about crimpers, and I think that's a good one. That's an excellent example because there are different kinds of crimpers for different missions. We'll get to that in a minute.
That looks like a socket set.
This? No.
The blue one. The blue one.
That's a
Look at
coax
that. What is-
crimper.
What is that? A quarter
coax.
inch socket?
Different sizes coax.
It's a
for
joke,
crimping the pins and whatnot. So, and I've got a couple of these. And the cool thing about
So forth
these is a
and
lot
whatnot.
of these have replaceable heads too. So if you
Dies,
buy
yeah.
a good set, the die, if you buy a good set, you can just replace the dies without buying whole new crimpers. That's more crap for me to keep up with, so I just buy crimpers that have the right size I want. This thing is beauty for a couple of reasons. This is to crimp fair rules. And as you squeeze that, it, of course, goes down to that tiny size. And if you're using screw terminal connections like you've seen us use on Nuggets with the TNC hookups, right? TO had that DB9 connector that broke out to separate wires. You want to put fair rules on the end of those wires, and that's what that's for. Bonus
for solar.
feature, if you have big globs of solder, Frank, on the end of your wire, you can stick it in here and compress the crap out of it and make it not as ugly of a blob of solder. And then these, I feel, are a must-have, and this is power pole crimpers here.
That's a tri crimp. I never heard of that brand.
Okay. And
And what's
This
that
is-
on the handle?
probably grease.
Dinner.
Huge.
Dinner from last night.
Yeah.
I don't know. So 15, 30, and 45 amp on these, and then there are bigger Anderson power poles, and you would obviously need a different device to crimp those ends on the cable for those big power pole connectors. But this thing works great. And this is the way to go. I don't even fool with solder and power poles anymore. This thing, if you crimp them, you're good to go. There's a couple other kinds of T.O.'s breakfast is done again.
I thought his battery was done charging.
Right.
French fries are up. And this is more for regular electrical kind of work. And this has strippers, gauge, wire
like
splitter,
What I
nail
don't
cutters,
like
bolt
about-
cutters.
About those, like I like those for the cutters and for the stripper side. And then you have that little grip at the end, which is nice.
Yep, that's for
But everything
But
on
not
the
for
handle
crimping.
side of the apex, I guess is the right word for it, like everything on the handle side, all those tools, you don't get the same leverage that you get from
No,
the center pin, and I just don't like when they put tools on that side.
Hard to crimp it.
Right, and I
with that.
didn't grab the insulated, like the ring terminal and spade terminal crimpers, the red, yellow, blue ones that we use all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grab those, and I have a ratchet set for crimping those, and then of course a lot of this style of crimper is also made to crimp insulated and non-insulated ring and spade terminals, like we're talking about.
Well, you can
And you're
use
exactly
those.
right. There's not as much leverage here.
So where you have those circles that are below the center screw or whatever, up a little bit more. A little bit more.
Yep, yep.
You can actually cut stuff with those.
That's
like
what those are for. Yep.
Cut screws.
And they're sized. I don't know how well that'll show you. You can see that. And so they're sized for different size bolts and or nails, screws, whatever. That's what those are for.
Don't they screw in too? I think, don't they?
I haven't ever used that function, so I don't really know. But I like these
Surprising it
because
works.
you have this pair of pliers basically on the end, and if you're doing electrical work, this is great for making J hooks to put around the outlet or switch, whatever you're wiring. So these are useful, and these things are cheap. I
got a
don't know,
question
Michael,
there.
because I don't have any of
See if
those
I can dig them
things.
up, Michael. They're big.
They're,
you
they're
wouldn't
big.
probably get them from West Mountain Radio though.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy those off of Amazon. Chuck was talking about a dingus.
Calipers.
Thank you. Jesus, I'm having a stroke. So
Again?
these, it's frequently, technically it's a TIA, not a full stroke. But
Mini stroke.
yeah, not a CVA, a TIA. These are legion on Amazon. There are all sorts of calipers on Amazon. I think this is a set of AliExpress, like $3
Is that the best
calipers.
set you got?
No, the best set I got's in a protective case.
Yeah, mine are in a case too.
Yeah, Chuck, I think we're talking about the same ones.
Ooh, they're nice.
These are my Christmas calipers. I don't take these out for just everyday measurements. These are for
That's
like
right.
Easter, Christmas and
For
Easter
special
measurements. But all these things almost all have the same exact buttons. They all do the same exact functions. You can zero it. You can change it between millimeters, inches, and decimal inches or fractional inches. Usually that's what the F is for. It has a lock. You can do an inside measurement and outside measurement, depth measurements. So, yeah, these are nice calipers. I got these from the Smokin' Ape for Christmas. I'm sure he spent upwards of
The
$15 to
Smokin' Ape.
$17 for these, as opposed
Oh,
to
they were more than that.
my $2
more than
ones
that.
I got off of AliExpress.
They were more than you deserve.
Whoa.
Wow.
People were saying about the analog and digital. I like digital stuff generally. Not that I'm hating on analog. Like I like analog multimeters for certain things, but I just
while
prefer
we're-
digital.
While we're pulling out tools, some other ones that you might want to have that I think are must-haves. A multi-bit screwdriver of some sort. This is
Can you pull it
particular
back a
one I
little
keep in my truck.
That's the Mega Pro, son.
So you have Torx bits,
knockoff.
Phillips, flathead, Robertson, square drive of common sizes that are used in everyday whatever.
Bought one of those for the Harley so I could carry a bunch in one small package.
Yep, that's what this is for. This stays in the pocket of my truck
I have one
door.
in my truck too.
In case you got to fix the window.
Yep.
In case I got to whack
Window.
somebody on the head for breaking my window.
Yeah, that'll
Wire strippers. These are great. There are a number of brands of these things. These are Irwin's. I have some Kai Wheats ones. I have some Honest Chen's House of Wire Strippers and Fish Market branded. There's 100 brands of these things that are all exactly the same design on Amazon.
Well, see, they have those crimpers built into the handle,
Yep.
and those are impossible to use.
Oh,
Those-
yeah.
This is what you're talking about with low
Yes,
low
yes.
leverage.
Yeah, no leverage. Yeah, I don't use these for crimping. These are the strippers that are out in the shop normally.
That's his stripper.
And this
And
is, I love
Not
a
tell
stripper.
people to buy like expensive crimpers and stuff like that, but buy decent crimpers, right? Because it makes the job so much easier and gets you much better connections.
And these are cool because you can adjust the depth that you do the crimp to.
Slide
These
that
kind
down
of
to
fall
the-
down on thicker wire a little bit. On something like coax, you're going to have to manually do it. I've never had any success at stripping bigger coax with this.
They don't score the jacket, which is
Right.
the challenge, right? So they do it by pulling it apart.
Essentially, yeah. I think there's a little
I've had
cut
problems
edge right in there.
with those on solid core wire. Breaking the
This
wire.
I use them. I pulled a circuit with. I use these for everything that ain't coax. I've never tried them on RG8. They might work on that, but they won't work on like LMR 400 or RG213 or anything like that. I just use my knife and, like Abe's talking about, score them.
Oh, damn.
I know they ain't coax strippers, and I have
damn.
not bought the cool one from DX Engineering. I do it the old school way with a pocket knife on that. Mostly because I'm too cheap to buy that really badass one from DX Engineering. I mean, this is what I bought my boys for. This is what I bought these boys for Christmas this year. I got to point the right way. The camera's confusing me. This is. I watch a channel called the Torque Test Channel, and they test tools. They science test tools.
I'll watch it.
This is one of the cheapest electric screwdrivers on Amazon, and this has been through 2 rounds of testing on torque.
So you're saying you bought us the cheapest one on Amazon?
Shut your pie hole. Grown-ups are talking a minute.
Well, I'm just saying. You said it.
I
Say it a
bought
little
you the-
slower. He didn't understand.
I bought the one that was the best on Amazon, and it costs less.
It did win the test.
It provides more value.
Did they have a DeWalt in that test?
They did. They had DeWalt, Milwaukee, Porter. I mean, they had every brand known to mankind. And this, in this niche of handheld electric screwdrivers, this thing basically has enough torque to start a B52 motor by hand. And it's a great screwdriver. It comes with a small selection of bits, but it's standard 1/4-inch bits.
Pony screwdriver.
I bought 2 of these. I have one in here, and I have one out in the shop.
They got
What
that
about in
new
your
small
EDC Go
size.
bag?
I'm getting to the small size. That is a very good question, Mr. McGrain. Thank you so much for queuing that up. This is the Kaiweets kit. I also have, my wife had bought me the iFixit screwdriver precision kit too. I've got it as well. It's out in the shop. So this is a nice little kit, budget priced, with a huge selection of bits. You've got an extension. It is an electric screwdriver.
Hang on a second. That one that's fallen out is really tweaking my OCD. Can you put that back in before we go too far?
Okay. Calm down. Calm down.
could see
Calm
him
down.
twitch.
That's got a spudger
He was
in it,
twitching.
too.
Yeah,
Step back, Tio. Take a deep breath. It'll be okay. Yep. This has got a spudger. This has a flexible drive, a flexi drive attachment to get around
Oh,
corners,
look at that.
brush, USB cable for the charger, a plastic spudger. It's got this fancy Dexter model spudger, if you want to use metal, which is kind of useful.
That's a great kit because it has all of the goofy bits on there.
Goofy bits. He is exactly right on that one. You have these guitar pick style spudgers, which are also incredibly useful. You have a bit magnetizer demagnetizer or screw magnetizer demagnetizer. And then as far as bit selection goes, and I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but it has a little picture of the bit and its official size, and it has a huge range
Tio's going to
Of-
find one that's wrong.
of bits.
I think
There
I'm
might-
only missing one of them.
On yours? Or am I, I'm missing one?
No, on mine. I'm pretty sure I'm missing one.
Yeah. Now, the only downside to this kit, and it's not something you'd probably normally do anyway, but these are not 1/4-inch bits. So they will not
Yeah.
fit.
Oh,
They won't fit in Mr. Amazon
Yeah, I need an
screwdriver.
adapter.
'Cause I'd love to take a little tiny T1 and put it on this thing and like,
Whip out your calipers and how big are those? Since you've got everything handy right there.
yeah.
Come on, Chip Chop, son, do a measurement.
that's a 1/4 inch. That's probably
us you know how to use it.
an 8-inch drive.
Yeah, so
we
I
want
asked
it- we
specifically
want it
to
in
whip out the
millimeters.
calipers.
Oh, you
I
said
got
without.
seconds.
You said without the caliper.
I said whip out.
Oh, whip
out.
out. I
Man,
thought you said
turn up
whip
your
out.
hearing
That's why I
aids,
answered you.
Yeah.
gotta
It's kind of
get that
hard to hear
cotton
with
ball
three old
out
men
of it.
yammering on this show while I'm talking.
The other two OMs understood me.
Yep.
He needs to take
I
the
was
cotton
listening.
ball out of his ear.
I was listening.
3.9
3.9.
millimeters.
Switch
That's
that to American.
I'm fixing to.
0.38.
3.8 millimeters, 0.15 inches. This one doesn't do fractional inches. So an eighth of an inch.
Some guy left me a chart of all that stuff because some guy complained because I did all that antenna work and the guy complained because I didn't put it in metric. Some guy left a chart for him so he could do it himself.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I copied that chart because decimals are a pain in the butt.
Well, doing woodworking, I mean, I know the eighths are 0.125.
Well, I know eights.
Yada, yada,
yeah,
yada.
but when they
gets a
give you
little
0.38, you know,
right, it
what
gets
is-
a
what
little
is that?
fuzzy. It gets a little fuzzy. So let's
High
change
school
this to
math.
fractional. Uh, 5/30 seconds.
5:30 seconds.
So
That's such a weird size.
it's
It is.
it's an
It's
odd
metric,
size.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's metric though. It's
It
probably
is an
4
odd
millimeter.
size.
It was
And
pretty
that-
close to 4, right?
That would be the 4 millimeter, 0.4, I think. I don't remember what it said.
Oh, was it 0.4?
But I've used the sockets on that kit, on the lower one, to drive bits from a different kit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this, T.O. was talking about an adapter. That's what this is. This is a 1/4 inch drive adapter.
Did it come with
There
that?
you go.
Yes, it comes with that.
Oh,
So you can use these little tiny bits on this high torque death machine and put this in your tiny electronics, screwing a machine screw into plastic for your pie case or
it has
something.
settings. It has settings.
So those are considered 4 millimeter bits in the industry
Yeah.
vernacular, and they do make adapters, and they're $5 for a 5 set, so $1 a piece.
But there's your 1/4 inch drive to 4
Your
millimeter.
adapter.
Your adapter. And this is a decent kit. The iFixit kit is nice. This is the ES20 kit. So, I mean, Another thing to talk about is electronic Felger carb. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're all right.
You're good, man. You're good.
And some stuff that may or may not be essential to you. These are all ham related tools, and some of them are a little more ham adjacent than ham specifically, but
Right.
So I'm going to get this out of the way first before we talk about that. An antenna
Lord.
analyzer. If you want to use a Nano VNA,
Can you show us an antenna
boo-boo.
analyzer?
Do what?
Can you show us an antenna analyzer?
I'm not hooking all this crap up. This is
No, I meant, can you show us one on camera? There you go.
Yeah, I had one up here. Right
No,
there.
the silver one.
This
Yeah, the
is
other
a-
one is like a point and shoot. It's like an instant.
This is a Libra VNA, Nano or VNA. It's a Nano VNA. This is nice.
See,
This-
you can admit
There's no screen.
It is a little, yeah, you got to use an app with it. So using this out in the backyard, Don, Chuck, you ain't using this out in the backyard, and totally you want to use that. And the app with this, what makes this one nice? This is got a spectrum analyzer, the VNA functionality, and a signal generator in this device. So the downside is kind of it requires a fair amount of power. You need to have a good USB adapter to run this thing. Don't run this off your computer's USB port. It really doesn't like that. It wants straight power and then a USB data connection. And there's
high-power
the
device.
free
They,
app that goes with it. And it gets warm. I
They have
run
a
it
new
on
one
something
out.
to dissipate heat.
They have a
Do
new one
they?
out. I think it's 4. I think it has 4 ports on it.
I think I've seen that. It's pretty cool. But this is a really nice Nano VNA. Now this is about $350, $400. So it's
Ouch.
it's this money range, and much as it pains me to say it, and I'm making a sad face right now.
Cool.
Oh my.
If your choice is between buying one of these, which is convenient and easy to use, and I still love my Rig Expert,
Hey,
this
my
is
little boy's growing up.
probably a better buy.
Yup.
But the downside is you can't take this outside and use it. It ain't. You got to run a Windows app with it. So unless you got a
The
USB,
Raspberry Pi app.
unless
They
you
might
got a
have.
Windows, I think it runs with Nano VNA Saver as well. So if you want to run a network cable for your Raspberry Pi back to your router in your house, you can have your
Wi-Fi,
Raspberry
man,
Pi and a
Wi-Fi.
portable screen and all that.
You bring your laptop out, right?
You got to have this out there.
Right.
So
And your laptop.
and your laptop, and yeah. But this is a nice affordable nano style VNA.
He got Rig Expert money, and he's complaining about remoting a VNA.
I mean, I wouldn't bother. I'd carry the Rig Expert out there instead of setting all that
You
trash.
wear
up.
that thing on your belt, son. I've seen you.
That's right. It brings the ladies. So, and I keep them. Actually, they live together in that case. So they cohabitate
mess. Oh.
nicely. Yeah, but
Thank you.
I got probably 2 of every freaking adapter known to mankind in there because I guarantee you the one I don't have will be the one I need.
Go down
always
to
do-
Walmart and get you a Plano box. Come on.
I'm good.
And sometimes you need 3 of the one that you don't only have 2 of, right?
Exactly, Charles. Exactly. This is not the world's greatest oscilloscope. This is cheap. This was like about
not?
40 bucks. Right, Ape? Do you remember? Didn't you have one of these too?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they cost, but they're inexpensive.
Very inexpensive. The nice thing about this, the useful thing about this, first of all, understand you're not making NIST level measurements with it. It is a
See,
low,
it's okay unless it's an
end.
NOVNA.
it's a low end oscilloscope. All right.
They're fun to
But-
play with.
It's fun to play with. It is. You can teach yourself how to use an oscilloscope and the stuff you could do with it. And it has a component tester built in.
That's
And if
the
I-
best part of that thing is the component tester.
Honestly, yeah, it makes it worth the buy. And then you have, this also has a signal generator built in it, if I remember right. And this
It's
thing is
pretty
like,
low level though.
yeah, it is. It's low
What
bandwidth.
I like about that is that I can quickly and visually measure inductors, capacitors, and resistors and get a nice, clean, easy to read measurement.
Right.
So you're not going to ham shame people if they have that one?
I wouldn't.
Ooh,
No, I mean,
Chuck,
I
good for
I
you.
prefer using the. This is what I mostly use now. It's in my East
Right.
Tester LCR meter. The one I had
just
to,
wondered.
the one I broke the screen on. But
The other
that
thing-
other
When you broke
component
the
tester's
screen.
all right. What's that?
The other, go ahead, Chuck. Were you saying something?
No.
Ape?
I thought he was asking a question.
Okay.
You know how hard he is to understand.
Right. What? I know, right?
I'm just kidding.
So another thing that I think is a very useful tool, and it's ham adjacent. I'm just going to straight up say it's ham adjacent, is having something like a clamp meter. Obviously a digital multimeter with probes, the regular kind of deal. I like having a clamp meter for a couple reasons, and I bought this. This is not a paid sponsorship. Most of the crap, all the crap I'm showing is stuff I bought.
Isn't that doesn't it have the parts to go on it too?
Yep.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, you can
Right
still
here.
use it like a regular one.
Yes, you can.
So it does everything. It does everything.
Yes. Yes.
If you had to carry one,
If you
Yeah.
got
They're
to
good
carry
to keep
one,
in the car, right? In the trunk.
Exactly right.
But
This
for
is
for a bench meter, that's got too much.
Teal should have one of those in his trailer.
so.
do.
The nice thing about these is this includes, and this is going to stir up. I know this will stir up Hollywood. So Hollywood, take a sip of coffee.
Right,
and
go
a
to
deep-
the restroom.
deep breath. I'm going to say it. This has a non-contact voltage meter. Probably if Lee's in here, he's going to get cranked up too. This has a non-contact voltage meter, which is useful for finding out if something's got voltage on it.
It's live.
And of course, it's an AC DC multimeter, true RMS, yada, yada, yada. But it's a clamp meter, so you can measure current draw with this.
Oh damn!
And that is just a useful thing to have, whether you're using it for AC, whether you're using it for DC. Now, I will say one thing when you buy one, if you're going to use it for DC, which is hams, you probably want one that will measure DC current. Not all of these measure DC current. If you go to buy one, you need to read the listing carefully and make sure it says AC DC current. They all will measure AC DC voltage because you have a full set of probes here, but they don't all measure DC current. So anyway.
Well, that's the thing is that read the specs.
Yep.
And so when you want your favorite YouTuber tell you that what you need to buy, what you need to do is you make sure you learn about the functions and then go and investigate whatever it is you're going to buy and make sure it has the functions that you want. If you dick with batteries like all of us do, those clamp-on meters are invaluable.
The schniz for Riz.
And I know a lot of people are like, well, I like my inline meters. And those are great too. But when you're pulling juice, like a lot of it, out of a battery and then feeding it into an inverter or distribution block, it's a great idea to have one of those clamp meters on your positive lead coming off of your battery so you can see what's coming out of it.
Don got stirred up. Don got stirred up.
What? No
That will
way.
not test your ground conductivity. Okay.
I wonder how much fiber
multi-$1,000
that guy
ground
gets.
conductivity test.
Like, Don, I'm not a doctor, but I'm prescribing a higher fiber diet than whatever it is that you're currently eating. You're just too uptight, son.
Wow, if Abe's calling you uptight, whoa,
Right.
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 you better go see a doctor right away.
This is something my buddy Charles put me onto a couple weeks ago.
This guy.
And this is not specifically a tool, but I think this is something that ought to be in your Go kit. First of all, it's for repelling boarders. If the pirates attack,
Yeah,
this is what you can use. And you look
roast
kind of like
wieners
a
on that too.
you look kind of like a badass, and you can make wieners and marshmallow cooking on this thing.
I've had one of those surgically put onto my hand. I can take this one off and put that on.
See, that looks like a chicken rotisserie prong.
It does. And
You can
hell,
use it for
may
lots
be.
of things.
So the end of this, and it comes with a rubber band to help secure things. This goes in the
I
ground.
glued mine.
Did you? And then you can
Yeah.
put your mast over it to help secure your mast with more than just guy wires. And I
But
just
see,
thought this
what
was
is the recommended mast for that thing?
anything
That
that
will-
it'll fit in.
That will do
That
this.
doesn't
The POTA 20 fits in it. The
Hold on a second, let me
Carbon
re-ask.
6 fits in
What
it.
is the fiberglass mast that is recommended for that thing?
The
cheap
commander
ones off
mast
of
would sit
eBay.
right over it.
The cheap ones off of eBay will fit in it.
Yeah.
They don't have
So-
brand names usually.
Prep Paul is saying both the Gigaparts POTA 20 and POTA 33 fit in that.
Yeah, I think the 33 fits in it too.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with the 33 yet.
Oh Lord, we got
Good
another
deal. Brian,
carbon
Paul, I'm
fiber.
going to have to try that. And
Hey, be careful with the tip on that. I don't know if everybody knows. Jim, did you want to give an update on your POTA 33?
no,
No, he didn't. He doesn't want to give an update. He's still ashamed.
the wood version is great if you have vampires. You'll notice I don't have the wood version. So.
I sit on that thing for like a year until I found one that I could
Wow.
show
Chuck,
people.
Don't.
No.
This is a family show, son.
They went out of stock as soon as I got one. They were out of stock, and I couldn't find any. And I finally found them on Amazon, so I could show people that what a great setup it was.
Chris Bricker says he's using a drive over. It depends on the size of the mast you're using. This is
Oh
great
yeah,
for
for big stuff.
for anything very large or
Can we
whatever.
get Randy to revoke Paul's access to Toads? I hate to do it, but I don't have much choice. You're not leaving us a lot of room here, Paul.
Paul. Carbon Fiber Brothers unite, son.
No, we're gonna have to put you in a 7-day timeout until you learn your lesson.
Wasn't this one of the things we're going to figure out at Camcation?
Yes, it is. So quit talking smack is what I'm hearing. So one
Listen,
of the
that was
things
my idea.
it was bongo ties.
Bongo ties.
I have some of these. They're okay. I don't necessarily
If you go
love 'em.
outside more often, you'd use them more often.
Bongo
Make sure
ties
you
are
bring
great,
those.
but they wear out.
They wear out.
The
is
rubber
problem
goes bad.
with them. Yeah.
That's the only bad thing
Son,
about
you
it.
got to take them out of the bag to wear them out. They ain't wear out there.
I was
and-
talking
and
about
bring-
mine.
Bring those to Orlando because we're going to need them because you broke the tip off of your carbon fiber mast. So you might need one of those.
Just the tip.
They're handy. They're
handy. I like them. They work. 3D printer, and I'm giving you two examples here.
Did you print
So,
that?
yeah. I ran out of one PLA or PETG and changed to another PETG in the middle of the print. So this is designed to hold wires together while you solder them. That's what this is
I hold
for.
some big ones too.
Yep. And it's
But only
sized.
millimeter sized.
Yeah. Well, whatever you jam in there, it'll hold. But
Well, it
this
says
is a,
specifically on it millimeter.
the wire doesn't know that. If you
got
jam
the
it
little one
harder,
here.
it'll fit.
Oh, the wire knows.
So, Chuck, did you print yours, or is that you
This
bought
came
that
with
one?
this came with a Helping Hands, and I'm going to do a video on, but they haven't brought it out yet. It's brand new. I finished
anyway-
the video, and it was out of stock. I'm like, what the heck?
The point of these two is a 3D printer. And if you're new to 3D printing, you don't want to spend a lot of money on one, if you don't know how useful you think it will be, then I'm going to push the Bamboo Lab A1 Mini. And we're not sponsored by any of this crap I'm showing
No.
at all. Bamboo hasn't paid me. I own an A1 Mini. The damn thing took 5 minutes for me to set up. I went and got a cold Diet Dr. Pepper, had a smoke, came back, and it was done. And it just prints every freaking time. There's no knob twiddling, no screwing around. It's a great little printer. It's like $199, and if you buy the multi-material system, it's like $350. So there's a lot of tools, and I don't want to get into a 3D printer discussion. Yeah, Doug, there is. So there's a lot.
Printables, Thingiverse,
Printables,
and-
Thingiverse, Thangs,
and
Maker World. Yep. This is a cable clip. If you have a lot of USB cables, and all of y'all are nerds, so I'm
I
sure
like
you
that
do.
Did you 3D print that clip?
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you have to do it in? PETG?
This is PLA.
It's got
PLA.
a hinge though. It's not spring though. It looks like.
Well, I mean, it's spring is in.
It's the spring is the hinge.
The spring is the hinge. The hinge is the
I mean,
spring.
Well, it's a spring
it's-
as in it's stored kinetic energy.
It's
Exactly.
not a folded piece of plastic. If you hold up the butt end of that, there's a hinge on it.
It's
That's
a
what I'm
folded.
saying.
Oh, yeah. Print and place hinge.
It's amazing what you can print in place.
But once you look, the arguments stop. Wow.
No, it's not a real hinge. It's a faux hinge. It's
What
not.
was it two pieces you had to snap together?
No, this is a. I printed it
faux
like
hinge.
this.
Faux hinge.
It's a faux hinge because there's no pin on the end. And that thing ain't hinging shite. So yeah, no. But these are nice. So with USB cables, to keep these little things together, it's less fooling around than Velcro. Zip ties will hold them forever, but then you got to cut the zip ties unless you're a nerd and want to take a zip tie apart.
Well, Don will tell you they have ones that you can reuse.
I know.
Because
Don
I
will
did that
tell me
last
that.
time. I just beat Don to it.
You beat Don to it?
He's typing right now.
You
I found
outdone
these-
Don.
I found this design the other day, and I've printed out like 3 plates full of these things off the A1 Mini that I put in a Ziploc bag. Just my goal today is to go through all the USB cables that are randomly fornicating in the drawer and separate them all. Because you got more than one cable, they're going to make a mess. So I think a 3D printer is an awesome thing to have, and if you've got a 3D printer, that is an awesome thing to have. Side cutters, which we've already talked about, all that stuff kind of goes together. So you can use these for ham, you can use these for 3D printing. And Chuck has been printing like crazy and designing stuff. I'm not designing anything yet. I showed y'all the other night, I designed a square to hold my monitor up. It was a tall, skinny square, but it was a square. So
I'm good at square things.
I also like this just because I like to have a ruler.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff I wouldn't necessarily carry, portable or anything, but it's just stuff that's in the ham shack. The electrical stuff, and I did a video on it the other day with the clamp meter and the line splitter. That stuff's all designed for AC. That's why I bought it, at least, was for doing AC household stuff. But it's useful to have. And an AC DC current clamp meter, I think, is like awesome. Because then if you're testing batteries, you don't have to hook up a whole bunch of wires. And Ape was mentioning using the inline one and how he likes the clamp meter. Another big differentiation between a clamp meter and, let me switch cameras
No, switch back.
and make me not bigger.
There you go.
Another big difference with something like a clamp meter is that the clamp meter is rated for 400, 600 amps. Your inline current is 10 or 20 at most. And of course, then you got to wire it all up with appropriate size wiring too. So
So here's a good tool too.
Hemostats.
Yes.
Yep. I love them.
they're perfect for like doing wiring and stuff, and you need to get something
thought you were gonna
small
say
into a
they're-
small space.
Perfect for listening to Bob.
Yes,
Marley.
I know what
Hold
you
them
mean.
up, Chuck.
I know what
Hold
you
them
mean.
up, Chuck.
I've got a few things here. So I have two different
show
sizes.
us the tip.
This one has cutters on it,
He's doing a carbon test, carbon check on that.
and this one doesn't have cutters, but I use those all the time for doing wiring stuff or holding something. These cutting coax, these work really good. They don't crush it. It's basically a razor blade.
So is that like that kind of deal?
Yeah,
That's nice.
they work really good.
Pipe cutter, yeah.
That's not a pipe cutter though, not a PVC cutter. It's
No?
for like hoses and stuff. It's
I'll be
similar.
right back.
Now, these are probably some of the best channel locks I think I've ever used. They're pretty easy to use. That you just push the button and
That's like the
move 'em.
Nipex style.
Yeah, that is what these are. And then if you're cutting big wire, don't use those little. I broke a couple of the small flush cutters, but this thing right here, if you're
Yeah, the
cutting,
flush
I mean,
cutters are
it only
designed
goes.
for delicate work.
Yeah, I broke a few because I've cut stuff too big, but these are really good for cutting big wire. I don't even know where I got these. I think I got them from DX Engineering. Those were a couple things that I thought that he might not have. And then I got the old fire department scissors.
Yeah, I like those.
They're not good for paper, but they cut other stuff.
Have you seen the Leatherman scissors like that?
I'm sure
They're not cheap. They're like $100
super
bucks.
expensive.
Yeah, but you can cut like sheet metal with them.
Yeah, those things there will cut a penny, but they don't cut
Let's see
paper
you do
very
it.
well. I don't have a penny on me, man. I don't
It's
know how good it
actually
is
just
for him.
there. Oh, argue. There we go.
What happened to Jim?
Who?
His tiny tank today.
We fired him.
He's got the
He had to peel one
ape,
off.
The ape tiny tank going on today.
The ape tank.
I don't know.
Tank.
I like these too.
No, not the
These.
ape tank.
Precision screwdrivers. I love these little things. These are just from
And-
Home Depot.
What about the
They're actually
plastic
really
ones?
good. Oh, the
Yeah,
plastic.
for
I don't have any
twiddling.
plastic
Yep.
ones for metal for
twiddling
doing.
stats inside of a PCB. Yep.
Yeah, I should have grabbed those. Those are non-conductive screwdrivers. I got a set of
Doing
those
an
out in the shop.
alignment.
Yep. This is what I was going to fetch. These were laying on my other
I
desk.
saw that in Total
yeah.
Recall when he pulled that thing out of the transmitter out of his nose.
Is that what that's for?
This is a McGill forcep that we use in EMS to reach down and pull the hot dog of doom or hard candy out of somebody's throat, generally a kid.
Have you had to do that?
Yeah, I've done that more than once. And so these are curved with a smooth end so we don't tear up tissue. And that's what these are designed for, and that's why the hook's in them too. But these are great for working in tight spaces. And this is like a needle nose of doom here because this thing will get in anywhere. And you can
It
get
looks
these
like
on
it.
Amazon. These are called McGill forceps.
McGill.
And when Chuck Messon, I wish I'd thought of these because I should have. These are awesome.
They look like for when you get the corn out of the cob out of the boiling water.
Absolutely. That's right. That'd work. If you don't have a spider.
just smaller, right?
Yeah. So and they make these in different size. This is the adult size. I have a smaller set that I think is
guess-
out in the shop at the moment.
I guess Don wasn't listening early when you brought this up, but yes, Don.
Yeah. Yeah, Don, the iFixit kit is great. And honestly, and Kai Wheats, I'm sorry, I'm going
He
to
must
say
have been at
this.
the bathroom.
The torque on that electric screwdriver sucks.
Yeah.
It
It's
won't
good for
turn
speed,
Putting
though,
screws
right?
in, not for taking it out.
It won't turn a
Right.
Q-tip.
What are you talking about? The
The ES20.
The electric
but
version.
you can lock it, manually
Yeah.
break a screw loose, and then switch to.
Yeah. Ish.
By that time, I might as well just use a regular screwdriver.
And
Yeah,
that
but you
is
got to
my
be
only-
careful with high torque ones. With those Chinese screws that are softer than melted butter, you
That-
stripped it.
Melted
Exactly.
butter.
That's the only complaint I have about the Kaiweets kit that I have is that the torque on that thing is not very strong. And in a lot of ways, a manual kit like Chuck was showing, or the iFixit kit, which again, I have one, it's great. It's all manual. So you have a lot more control. The
This is
electric
my most
screwdriver
used.
is kind of a gimmick.
This is just
Got-
a little husky kit.
I got two or
Yeah.
three of those too, man.
Those ones
And
I
it-
showed were husky.
I've had this. This has been sitting on my desk for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and I use it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, whatever gets the job done. There's also, and I don't know, I haven't seen if anybody in the chat has dropped something, but, you know, are there some tools that you guys just can't live without that are, you know, gotta haves or nice to have?
These are pretty good. The little torch ones.
What is that?
Heat gun.
Drinking?
Oh,
It's
lighter?
it's a lighter, but it's the
Crack
torch
pipe
one.
lighter?
They work pretty good.
Harbor Freight has a $10 heat gun,
yep.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I bought it. I just happened to be at Harbor Freight getting something, and as I was checking out, I saw the heat gun sitting at the cash register for $10. Mm-hmm. And I
is that,
bought
the
it.
one's
pistol,
nice.
is that the pistol one you've got, Ape?
Yeah, and
I have that one. I have
This one's
both,
nice,
actually.
too.
I like the one Chuck has a lot better.
but at $10 every time I've used it, it's worked great. I've already gotten my
don't-
money
It's
out
been
of
I
it.
don't think
getting
it's
better
as-
and better.
I don't
Has
think
it
it's
got
as
that
hot
rubber
as the
coating on
one-
it?
I don't know.
See, that's
Yes
the
or
thing
no?
with the Chinese. They take our money and then they make their products better and then they sell them back to us and take more of our money.
The Harbor Freight one I have, and I have one. It's out in the shop, hanging on a hook. It's got that rubberized grip coating on it, and that
It
stuff
might.
degrades over time, and it's
Starts to
nasty.
get sticky.
Yes,
They got rid of that.
it's like
I had
I'm
a helmet
touching the
that did
bottom
that.
of the movie theater.
But I probably had it for like 3 years, and it was definitely worth $10. I'll leave it at that.
No one wants
Yeah.
to talk about drills.
Colin's right.
I like
yeah.
battery. I don't like electric drills. I like battery drills. Unless you're doing something big.
You know that's electric, right?
This is battery.
He made a distinction. I'm sorry you missed it.
I saw it. Batteries are
Just wanted
electric.
to argue. Yeah.
I did.
So that's why I like the little screwdriver set, like Jim was showing the ES20 or the one that I use, because they have Allen heads in them. They're not right angle Allen heads like you're used to, but they're Allen bits and they work great.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like? This is going to be
XP set?
controversial.
Oh boy.
The little bullshit USB soldering irons.
Yes.
Just get a real
No,
soldering
you
iron.
You haven't used one.
Yeah, I'm not going to. But people are like, well, if you update the firmware on the new Pine Sol, you get an extra watt of storage. Yeah, I just don't want to have.
So this is a Nico USB soldering iron, and this is USB-C chargeable. I assume I can run it plugged in. I've never tried it. It gets hot enough to potentially melt soft
Cut
candy.
cheese. Right? You get hot,
Yeah,
hot
I-
enough to cut a slice of cheese.
I can make cheese holes with it. It's
This
been
is the
nothing
one
but
you
a
need.
complete disappointment. Now I
So,
gotta say,
Abe, are you
need-
talking about battery or are you talking about plug-in? Because battery soldering
I'm gonna
irons
get-
suck.
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes. Now, I get that there are some USB cables that'll deliver higher wattage and voltage.
that one he's
Oh,
got,
yeah, it's
that
your
Pine Sol
power source.
apparently
Yeah.
is the schniz. But it's
Yeah,
plug-in. It's not even battery. It's just a small
there's no
soldering iron
batteries
that
in it.
runs off USB-C.
Yeah,
And not a gas
And I have
station
built
USB-C
plenty of
cable.
stuff. Yeah, you need,
Doesn't
you
have a
need power
battery,
source
too?
with some ass. No battery.
Oh, no battery. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could use a battery pack with it if you wanted to, but again,
and
it's got to
out
have
of the-
enough
Out of the
balls.
two of us, me or this guy, who actually solders stuff? Come on now.
Oh, snap. There it is.
I solder stuff too, but I mean, the thing is that that if
Making
you had to have
slides.
one
You solder a
soldering
lot
iron,
making slides.
yeah, you have to know that if you were going to use one soldering iron for the rest of your life, that ain't it.
I'm all right. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Ape is right
I
there.
sold my Hacko.
When I want to solder, when I'm soldering for reals, I go sit out in the
But you're
shop and use the Weller kit
Right.
because it gets like 1,000,000 degrees in about 13 seconds, and I can solder, steel pipe with it. So yeah, I still may buy a Pine Sol, but I don't know.
Well,
This
it's
is-
like a
This is a piece
it's
of
a
crap.
flare. It's a flare iron, right?
Yeah,
Look, I got a USB iron.
Hillbilly Ham is right.
right. Exactly,
saying?
Jimmy. Ain't nobody never seen you solder, son.
Well, but maybe he needs to take off those what are they
Oh,
kind of glasses is he wearing there? He looks like that singer that plays the piano. I've got plenty of videos showing soldering, so I don't know what to tell you.
He also has some videos showing electrical incidents too. So
Yeah.
He does. He does.
he does.
He's talking
Theo,
about
what
you.
is
You do.
what about you? Go-to tools besides
Well, they were
your
talking about
Pine
tool
Sill.
storage. They were talking about tool storage, and I did this one here for storing some little stuff.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are 4x6 photo storage things, and inside of here I have just a ton of little Go kits that I have made. So my Pine Sill is in one of those boxes, and I keep my solder wick
Kathy
and
might
my
have told
brass
me
wool
about
and
this.
everything inside of there, and then USB cable testers and things along those lines. So lots of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I bought a set of those cases. They are incredibly useful. Now I
I'm
don't have
thinking
I don't
about
have the Go
upgrading.
Kit obsession that you have, but yeah.
I'm thinking about upgrading the storage locker system that I've got behind me.
Oh man, no way.
Oh well,
have to-
God.
Might have to switch those over. So I'm a big fan of MTM case guard stuff. So you're going to start seeing these guys here up there.
Yeah.
This, 50 caliber ammo can.
They're so reasonable too compared
Yeah.
to other companies.
Well, so really quick, you can get the cheap ones from Harbor Freight, and they're like $9, and they're almost worth $9. But if you get the MTM, they're like $15, and you can really like feel a quality.
The MTMs are better. I have
Yeah.
I have
I
these
think
all,
they're
all
U.S.
over-
made. I
all
think they're
over
made in the
place.
USA too.
I'm not going to open it up on camera because
Not sure about that though.
The Swedish powered. Never mind.
Who knows?
Yeah, I have a couple of the MTM cases. I have ammo stored in them, and I probably
And
have
it's-
them overloaded for the ammo.
Yeah,
the
they're,
one says
they're
is drone?
able to hold some weight. Yeah.
They're
And case
they're
guard,
hefty.
It's
Well, that's the 50
GARD.
cal, but they also have the 30 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
30
I've
cal,
got a
yeah.
bunch of them in different sizes. They work really well.
So the 50 cal will hold a mobile radio, either the double thick like FT100, FT857, FT891, those kinds of mobiles, or the dual banders, the 2 meter 70 centimeters. The 30 cal won't hold a standard
Right.
size car radio.
Right. I mean,
It's
it's
Mr.
something like that QYT WP12 or the Vero N7500 would be fine in a 30 cal can where you don't have a whole lot of other crap in there
But like
with it.
the Yaesu FTM 6000,
Right.
or
Yeah.
the new 150 RASP, those radios. Won't
I have my
fit.
2900
Yeah.
in one of those boxes with a battery.
I don't think really in a 50 caliber can.
Well, no, we
I
were
think
talking
that'd
about
be a-
30s. They won't fit in the 30s. The 50 will hold all the radios.
It might be. I don't remember which box it actually is.
I
But
think the
yeah,
50
something like
even
that.
holds.
I think
the
this is a
crap
30.
top.
I think this one's a 30 cal can.
That's a 50 short
That's a 50, son.
or 45. Because
That's a 50.
Case Guard makes a couple of weird sizes. They make a AC30T, which is a 30 caliber tall, and they make a real tiny one that I like for doing making mag loops.
And Philly Ed has dropped some links in the chat to MTM's Case Guard website. So if y'all are interested, you can go click those.
Yeah, they make nice stuff.
I mean, there's just a lot of cool things that you can do in ham radio, and there's a lot of tools that there's a lot of crossover kind of stuff on. And I think that's what we've shown. Another thing, and honestly, this is another case for the 3D printer, is a guy line for a mast. So this one's made for a DX Commander, and I printed this in PETG, Chuck, with like 4 walls and 50% infill.
Make it
So
make it strong.
yeah. But I'm going to take this same exact model and I'm going to resize it to go on the carbon fiber mast so that I can,
Lordy.
the guy wires will stay at a given height. That's the beauty of the 3D printer. And again, I don't want to get all into 3D printing too much, and then something like this clip, you're saying, well, that's too small. You can scale this thing up in a heartbeat in every dimension, X, Y, and Z, and have a bigger clip if you need one. So then the same thing with this. Literally, all I got to do is resize the XYZ down to make this hole a little smaller to slide on and stay on that CF mast. So,
Well, you have
There's
all
just
these
so much
people,
you
like I
can
could make
do.
one of them out of a cutting board, and I'm sure everybody's talented
can.
enough
Right.
enough to do that. But it goes back to, like, anytime there's innovation in the ham shack, you have a group
Everybody
of
shames you. Yeah.
We're scared.
you have early adopters, right? And then you have embracers, and then you have people who get drug along over time. And it was the same thing with computers and
SSB
all
is
kinds of
killing
other
ham
stuff.
radio.
right. Right.
I don't be intimidated by the 3D printers. I was for a long time. I wanted one for a long time, and then finally, you guys just kind of talked me into it. And
It was funny too, because Chuck got his 3D printer and he's like, "Hey guys, I got a 3D printer." And we were like, "What?" And like 5 minutes later, Chuck had his first CAD design and printed out a custom antenna kit. I'm
Well,
like,
he built it.
How
Like
did,
that.
how did
remember how
OM
fast
go
he-
from that to that?
it was like
Yeah.
it was like an most people an
We were
hour
all like,
build. I think I built it in
"Here we go."
30 minutes.
I didn't even take mine out of the box for like the first 2 weeks that I had it because I was dreading building it. 'Cause
30 minutes. I had mine heated up.
It
Ready to
looked
go.
like a giant pain in the butt. And then the problem is that every person you know with a 3D printer is like, oh, I'll come over and help you. We'll have a build party. We'll get some pizza. We'll put on some comic book movies. And I'm like, no, bro, that ain't happening.
And the new ones nowadays, as far as most of them, you just pull them out of the box and they're
Yeah.
a couple bolts and you're done.
Yeah, the bamboo printers. And the newest one I got is a Cheedy +4. Again, literally. I plugged
The
it in, it
bamboo-
went through its setup, and
The bamboo I
Off
have
to the
coming
races.
takes the most setup of any of their bamboo ones.
somebody
nothing.
mentioned mats. And that was
Oh yeah, cutting mats.
Yeah.
So the mat that you guys have been seeing here is a cutting mat. It is not supposed to be soldered on because if you drop hot solder on it, TO.
It'll melt.
Self healing cutting mat.
Yep. And
It's a
these
sacrificial tool. Yeah.
these are great. And I don't have one where I can get to it right now because it's got stuff piled on it and I'm not moving all that crap. But you also need, and this is, if you're soldering, this is what you need. Absolutely. One of y'all got a silicone soldering mat handy?
I
Yuck,
do, but
no.
it's
Dude,
covered.
when I solder stuff, I generally just get a big piece of cardboard and put it down. And then when I'm done, the
That's fire
cardboard gets.
rated.
Totally
Yeah.
safe. Fire rated cardboard.
Well, I mean, look,
I
I'm sitting
peed on
I'm
it
sitting-
before I used it, so it's
I'm
okay.
sitting there looking right at it. I'm not worried about it. It's not like I'm leaving it unattended with a hot solder and iron laying on it. But
Right.
but when I'm done, it just gets rolled up and throw it out.
Here you go.
Yeah, that. So
Yeah,
I
this
have
is-
a couple
they
of
just
these.
attract dirt.
They attract
They do.
dirt like a
They work.
Hoover. Oh my God.
Can't
Yes.
have that on camera.
That's sometimes I do because it's like I'm soldering. It is what it is. Y'all solder. There's dirt. The mat does seem to hold dirt frequently, but you can throw it in the dishwasher. Just don't tell your wife it's in there. It'll be all right.
Yeah, this has lead residue all over it. I'm going to put it in with my dishes that I eat off.
Yeah,
of.
it's gonna wash away. It'll be fine.
That's
Yeah,
that
'cause
one for
dishwashers
that.
don't recycle water.
And
Yeah,
and the
it
helping
all goes
hands.
down the drain.
We didn't show helping hands, but I mentioned it earlier. Those,
Yep.
If you solder, those are great. I've got
Right.
a really good video coming out once they decide to produce it. The product.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna hit the button. Yeah.
Thanks, all.
Yeah,
Y'all
thanks,
appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Y'all.
Button engaged.
What about